I, 41 female, and my husband, 41, have 4 children. I have 1 child from a previous relationship, he has 2, and we have 1 together. We've always treated the children as equally as possible, though with extended family, they don't always go on the same trips if we don't go. His parents take his children on vacations, and my child doesn't want to go without me. This has never been an issue, but when we plan trips, we always take everyone. The problem is that my stepdaughter, Teen, doesn't really like anything that anyone else does, or she'll like it until someone else does. She really wanted to go on a winter trip to Colorado for skiing. None of the other children were that excited, but seeing as it's hard to find things she likes, we went. She was excited until the other kids started enjoying it too, and then she wanted to leave. This is what happens when we go on trips to the zoo, museums, or anything. And if other people are already happy about it, she immediately hates the idea. We thought maybe she just wanted time alone with each parent, so we did that with both her mom and dad. She still complained the whole time. Her counsellor said maybe she wants activities with both parents to show they get along. They did that, but if they showed any enjoyment at all, she hated whatever they were doing. We've done girl days with her mom and me, and she hates it. We found the less enthusiastic we are, the more she wants to do it. This applies to meals too. If someone else likes something, she finds ways to criticise it. It's like she can't let anyone else enjoy anything. She also likes things more if no one else wants to do them. This also happens when she goes with her aunt and cousins. Her sister is not like this at all. We've asked her if she has any insight, their mother has too, and she comes up with nothing other than she's just a witch and shrugs. We let her choose other day trips and told her she could bring her friend, but it's the same. If she sees someone like something she chose, she complains and says it was her idea, like no one else can enjoy it. So this year we talked about Disney for a while. My nephew has cancer and has always wanted to go with us because he has no siblings and not many friends because he's missed a lot of school. Stepdaughter said it was stupid as soon as everyone else wanted to go. Her father said he would have a lot of work to catch up on when he got back. He does seasonal work and has to take the work while he can. The kids agreed that they wanted to go and he wanted us to, so I made the plans and we decided to go back another year with all of us. I made the reservations for myself, my sister, my nephew and 3 of our children, deciding that stepdaughter could stay behind with dad since she didn't want to go anyway. My husband says I'm the idiot for not planning for her to come too, but I don't want her ruining the trip with complaints from my nephew there. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. You didn't at least give her an opportunity to decide if she wanted to go. Frankly, she's a teenager and acting like it. Not everything is a pathology or due to some psychological trauma. It's not a lot of fun to parent it, but being neutral rather than exclusionary tends to be more effective for getting through it constructively. Deliberately excluding her without giving her a chance to come is only going to antagonize her. Parenting teenagers is really hard sometimes, but we are the adults and have to act like it, even when they're acting like children. They are not our peers. Hormonal contrarian teens should not be able to hold their families hostage like she has. Treating her like a small child is not doing her any favors. She needs boundaries and a mental health professional. She's a teen and being deliberately difficult. As for this not being fair, it isn't fair to make your other kids put up with her poor behavior. It isn't fair to make her go on a vacation she'll abhor. Your husband is wrong. Yeah, she's plenty old enough to lay in the bed she makes. She said she didn't want to go, so plans were made for her not to go. She'll learn quick, hard and fast in the real world that nobody wants to waste time or energy on a selfish, entitled killjoy. Just shrug and leave the self-proclaimed witch at home. Your nephew deserves to have a good time without putting up with a self-centered girl who doesn't want anyone to enjoy themselves. I, 26 female, am getting married soon to my amazing fiancé Liam, 30 male, and I'm struggling with whether or not to invite my cousin, Tom, 29 male. Tom has a developmental disability, and while he's almost 30, he has the intellectual capacity of about a pre-tween-year-old. I've always tried to be patient and understanding, but he's consistently crossed physical boundaries with me in ways that make me really uncomfortable. I've always been an early bloomer, and I have a much larger than average chest because of all the sports I did in high school, and that continues to be the case to this day. I would like to say I look good. I only say this because it's the main reason my family uses to justify Tom's behaviour. Over the years, Tom has touched my chest and butt quite a few times. He's also hugged me tight and tried to kiss me, and even though I immediately told him to stop each time, it never seems to stick. He also tells all of his caretakers, nurses and living caregivers that I'm his girlfriend. He also doesn't like Liam because he insists Liam isn't my fiancé or boyfriend, but he is my boyfriend. Tom also talks about how he will marry me. It kind of feels like when a little kid tells their parents they're going to marry them, but it's still very uncomfortable. I've brought it up with my family, but they always downplay it, saying Tom doesn't understand and that he's just showing affection. Most often the excuse is, he's a little boy in a man's body and you're a conventionally attractive woman. When I told my mom how uncomfortable it made me, she said I probably entertained his behaviour too much and that he was harmless. She insists I should just be firm, but any time I've tried, the family accuses me of being mean to him. With my wedding coming up, I want the day to be relaxed and special without constantly worrying about Tom overstepping boundaries. When I told my family that I was considering not inviting him, they were outraged. They said I was being unfair and cruel and that he'd be devastated not to come. My mom even said it would ruin his day and make it obvious that he's different, which she thinks is heartless. I understand that Tom can't help certain behaviours, but my family has completely ignored my feelings in this. They always brush off my discomfort and say it's my responsibility to manage it, or that he doesn't know any better. But it's my wedding and I don't want to be on edge the whole time. Liam says I have every right not to invite him, especially because of how he treats both of us, like our relationship isn't real. Still, I wonder if I'm being too harsh or unkind, since Tom isn't fully aware of boundaries and doesn't really know what he's doing is bad or harmful, especially because his parents and other family members encourage it. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. If he was a little boy in a man's body, there should be no problem finding someone to look after him. The fact they say you probably entertain him and that this would ruin his day is a hill I would die on. It's not his day, and they've been enabling this behaviour for too long. If he can't help his behaviour because of his disability, he should have a caretaker who looks after him. OP, be prepared for fallout. If other family members decide not to attend your wedding because of this boundary, consider that your day will be far better without them and their toxic, enabling energy. Your wedding should be a day for you and your partner. Everyone else is a guest. This nonsense should have been dealt with a long time ago. They just don't want to tell him no. I, 24 female, am the youngest with 3 older brothers, 36, 34, 31. Yes, I was the surprise baby, and yes, I was coddled growing up. They're all married, and I get along really well with my sisters-in-law. Between the 3 of them, I have 7 nibblings, all of them younger than tween age, and one of my sisters-in-law is pregnant with the 8th. She's my middle brother's wife, and they already have 2 kids. Here's the problem. When it used to be just 3 nibblings, I used to have a full Auntie Nibblings day when I would basically take them out from sunrise to sunset. Sometimes it was in the middle of the week, sometimes in the weekend, depending on my work and social schedules. From the start, I made my boundaries clear because I'd read horror stories about babysitting. I basically said that I would only offer that 1 day a week of auntie fun and babysitting, and would only babysit otherwise if there were extreme circumstances. For example, when one of my sisters-in-law had their second baby, I was more than happy to have their toddler over for a 4-day sleepover until they were out of the hospital and settled at home. With each added member to our days, it became my worst nightmare to handle that many kids alone. Say what you want about me, but that's a lot of responsibility, a lot of kids and just one me. So I started cutting the time and mixing and matching. Still the same day, but for example, I take one of my brother's kids for something fun at breakfast. Another brother's kids are to lunch, and the last brother's kids are to dinner. I'd mix it up the next week. No one had any problems with it. Now that my sister-in-law is heavily pregnant, 31 weeks, with their 3rd kid, she brought up the thought of me maybe keeping her kids all day and bringing them to stuff with the other nibblings because she used to use that as a self-care day for herself. I turned her down and told her my reasons. 1, it would still be a lot of kids to handle if we merge, 5, 6, and 2, it wouldn't be fair to the rest of my nibblings. She understood. No crazy, selfish sisters-in-law here, but I could feel her disappointment, and that has made me feel guilty because I'm not a mom. I have no idea how hard it is for her. My brother talked to me after that and asked if I would reconsider if he sent their usual babysitter with me to help out. I told him I'd think about it, but I don't want to be unfair to the other kids. Plus, I don't know this person that he would be sending with me. Am I the idiot if I also turn down that offer? Not the idiot. I have no idea how hard it is for her. She chose this. My brother talked to me after that and asked if I would reconsider if he sends their usual babysitter with me to help out. How would that make sense? Their regular babysitter can do things with their kids without you. This sounds like a scam where the babysitter suddenly cancels. Well said. So tired of parents gasping and moaning because the third or fourth or whatever number of kids they chose to have means they have less time for themselves. Mathematically, that's how it works. There is an inverse correlation between the number of children you have and the time for self-care. But is it even safe to have one person babysitting that many young kids at once? I'd be scared of handling that many kids too. It appears to me that your best option would be, instead of taking all of them once a week, to take each brother's kids once a month. That would give all of your nibblings special time with you and would give you a week to recover or to offer extra time for any of your nibblings that were having a special celebration or extra needs. And when does OP get to recover from all this while having her life? Besides, in the future, and probably soon, some of the kids will start having their own other activities, so having a full day once a month won't be very compatible. Doing part of a day can better work around other things that the kids will be doing. This is fun auntie time, not OP permanently giving up half of her weekend to do childcare. Her brothers and sisters-in-law need to roll with the changes. I, 28 female, live in a 2-bedroom apartment with 3 roommates. It's small and we step on each other's toes sometimes, but it works for us because we're all in graduate programs when we met and needed something cheap. We've all split rent evenly for the last 6 years and I've been fine with that. Even when they all got jobs and I was still a resident, I didn't once ask to adjust the rent. Now, to be honest, I'm a very quiet and non-confrontational person, and residency kept me on weird hours so I didn't speak to them a lot, and they didn't even realise that I'd finished my program when I did. I also live on the 2nd floor of our apartment in a space off the attic storage meant to be an office, so I keep to myself and do my business. Once I became a licensed emergency physician, I found a job in our city relatively quickly. I started working about 4 months out of residency. I'd already worked as an EMT for years around this hospital, even in college when I was getting clinical hours for med school, so I knew the ED well and it wasn't hard for me to get a job there. I still had loans from med school to pay off, so I saw no problem with hanging around and paying my same share of the rent, utilities and groceries that I'd paid for 6 years until I built up savings, even though I was making more than my other 3 roommates combined. I'm not in a relationship, and I don't want kids now. I liked my little living arrangements while I had some savings behind me. I was fine until crap hit the fan yesterday. By some insane stroke of bad luck, one of my roommates, Alan, 27 male, was in a car crash and was transported to the hospital by ambulance when I was on shift. He was fine, just a bit of whiplash and a stitched-up cut from broken glass, but while he was in the ED, he saw me and realised I wasn't a resident anymore. Even though he couldn't pin down my exact salary, a quick Google search could tell him that I was making at least double what my roommates were in our city. He was angry and he told my other 2 roommates while I was still at work, so when I came home they were all waiting for me. He confronted me and asked me what I was making and I told them the truth. They all lost their minds at me because I knew that Alan had been struggling to make his share of the rent every month, whereas I was hoarding my money. I listened to what they had to say but said that I still had loans to pay off and I was going to bed. I was tired after a long shift and I'm aware I was probably really blunt and cold because when I'm getting yelled at, part of my job description is just to take it calmly. This morning they've all been giving me the cold shoulder and though they haven't talked about it yet, I can feel it coming. I don't know how to address this because I really liked our living arrangements and don't want it to change, but I can't help feeling like I'm the idiot for not helping Alan out more. So, am I the idiot? Clearly you are not the idiot. You didn't ask for help when you were still a resident, and they were making more. None of them offered to cover part of your rent. You don't owe your roommate any money. You shouldn't be expected to subsidize the lifestyle of anyone you are neither related to nor in a romantic relationship with. That said, now that your roommates know you make a lot more than they do, things will never go back to being the way they used to be. That season of your life is over. My suggestion, if your roommates seriously expect you to pay more rent than they do, is to move out as soon as you can because their requests will get increasingly more unreasonable until you do leave. And watch for them to become petty. OP won't agree to cover more of the rent? Fine. But now I can eat OP's food or use OP's things because she can afford to just replace it. I'd add that when you give 1 month's notice, make sure you've moved yourself out already. It's worth the extra month's rent to have the peace of mind that they won't make life difficult for you. Update. I talked to our 4th roommate, Dan, not Alan or his girlfriend, and he gave me their perspective in a much more polite way, Alan had come back, angry because his car had been wrecked, he had a hospital bill to pay, and because he thought I'd been deceptive with my income. He got his girlfriend all riled up about it before I got home because she's been supplementing his rent and helping him while he was between jobs. I didn't know about this, while I'd just been paying my portion and not helping when I could. Then the two of them went to Dan and brought him into this, so it would be a 3-on-1, and they felt justified asking me. They thought since I didn't help out around the household much, and because I was making more, I should either pay more or move out and give my room to one of their friends who needed cheap housing more than I did. I admit I buy my own food and cook my own meals and keep my own space clean, whereas I think the rest of them do that communally, but that was because I kept terrible hours with residency and with my job and I wasn't around much. As for someone who needed it more, I told Dan that this apartment had never been need-based. It had been passed down from student to student as people chose to move away. Dan is younger, 25 and still in grad school, as is Alan's girlfriend, but Alan graduated already and still lives here with a job, and no one has argued that someone needed it more. He asked why I didn't want to move away and get my own place. I said I really liked the arrangement and I wanted to pay off my loans, which were still very large. My net worth was likely less than all of them, given the amount of debt I'd accumulated. When I explained my student loans to Dan, he got very quiet and said that he didn't realise they were still big and thought they were smaller because I had a scholarship. I explained that my athletic eligibility only lasted for my first year because I had redshirted my freshman year of uni, so my athletic scholarship was only for that year. Now that I know their perspective though, I know nothing is going to change their attitude towards my money and it's time to move on. This morning I told them that I'm staying until the end of my lease and then moving out, and they're more than welcome to move someone else into my room. They wish me well, and I hope my last few months here won't be too tense since we all know there's an end in sight. I started looking at studio apartments, but I'm also considering putting down a payment on a house and starting to settle down. Honestly, it was probably time for me to get out of my comfort zone and start living on my own, and this will be good for me. Thank you for all your kind words and advice.